You carry a nervous system conditioned for survival long before you draw your first breath. When family trauma goes unprocessed, it moves through generations like an emotional inheritance, showing up as chronic anxiety, hypervigilance, emotional distance, or an inexplicable sense of carrying a burden that isn't entirely your own. Healing from severe generational trauma is not about fixing a flaw in yourself. It is the process of decoupling your identity from inherited survival strategies. To break the cycle, you must learn to signal safety to your body and reshape the patterns passed down to you. Welcome to the Sovereign Renaissance, a channel through the arcane, mystical, and occult science. Healing from severe generational trauma is a gradual process of unlearning inherited coping mechanisms and regulating a nervous system that was conditioned for survival before you were even born. Core stages of healing: separate inheritance from identity. Recognize which patterns, such as hypervigilance, emotional suppression, or people pleasing, were adapted by ancestors to survive hardship, and separate those responses from who you are today. Somatic nervous system regulation. Generational trauma is held in the body. Practice grounding techniques, for example, breath work, progressive muscle relaxation, or cold exposure to shift out a constant flight or fight state. Establish rigid boundaries. Break cycles of enabling, guilt tripping, or boundary violations by setting and holding clear limits with family members, even if it creates temporary discomfort. Process intergenerational grief. Allow yourself to mourn the emotional safety, validation, or healing parenting you did not receive without rushing to forgive or excuse the behavior. Evidence-based therapeutic approaches, EMDR, or also known as eye movement desensitization, desensitization, and reprocessing. Sure. Rewires how traumatic memories are stored in the brain. Internal Family Systems, or IFS, helps identify and heal the protective parts of your personality developed to handle inherited stress. Somatic experiencing focuses on releasing bodily tension and trauma trapped in the nervous system. Internalized narrative therapy reframes family stories from inherited shame towards agency and resilience. Unlearning inherited generational trauma is a profound process of recognizing that habits, emotional responses, and survival strategies passed down through your lineage no longer have to dictate your life. It starts with seeing the pattern clearly, understanding how trauma travels through family dynamics, and consciously choosing a different path. Core stages of unlearning inherited patterns. Identify the inherited narratives. Pay attention to repeated family tropes or core beliefs such as "we don't talk about feelings" or "people will always take advantage of you" or extreme perfectionism or hypervigilance. Labeling these as inherited rather than intrinsic to who you are is the first step towards detachment. Regulate the nervous system. Trauma lives in the nervous system before it shows up in conscious thought. Practice grounding techniques, somatic experiencing, breathwork, or body scanning to signal safety to a body that has adapted to hyper awareness or emotional shutdown. Reparent and set boundaries. Practice offering yourself the empathy, safety, and validation that may have been absent in your upbringing. Establish firm boundaries with family members to protect your peace without needing them to validate or understand your healing process. Process and grieve. Allow space to grieve what you did not receive: safety, warmth, or structural support. Healing requires processing the pain rather than bypassing it with forced passivity, or rationalization. Cultivate new relational patterns. Generational trauma often manifests as attachment anxiety, conflict avoidance, or difficulty trusting. Practice open communication, vulnerability, and healthy conflict resolution within your current relationships. Key takeaways for the path ahead. Self compassion as a practice. Recognize that your coping mechanisms once served as survival tools for those before you. Treat your healing with patience rather than perfectionism. Consistency over intensity. Daily subtle acts of nervous system regulation like grounding, boundary enforcement, and honest reflection build more long-term resilience than occasional drastic shifts. Community and connection. Healing in isolation is difficult. Surrounding yourself with safe, emotionally regulated relationships help reprogram what healthy connection feels like. Living as the interrupter. Choosing to break the pattern means that generations will means that generations that follow will inherit your freedom, clarity, and peace rather than your unresolved past. Healing from generational trauma is rarely a swift or linear journey, but every step towards awareness shifts the course of what comes next. You are not responsible for the wounds you inherited, but you hold the power to determine where they end. By choosing to feel what was silence, regulate what was overwhelmed, and redefine what safety means to you, you transform inherited pain into the starting line of a new legacy. The cycle ends with you. And if you like this episode, please do like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, goodbye.